Um, I just wanted to make another video to kind of pick up where I left off yesterday. And I know I said I had two dreams, and I didn't even tell you about the second dream that I had. Um, these dreams were some years apart. The first dream that I had that I shared in the last video was one that I had in Florida right before all hell broke loose, basically. It was in the midst of all hell breaking loose in my life. And I had a great deal of paranormal activity going on during that time. So, anyway, I'll go ahead and set you up into the story of the next dream and kind of to a measure of degree of where I'm wanting to take this, and hopefully it follows that path and we get to that place where I can wrap it all up and make sense of it and have some sort of a message to it. um, okay, so I'm gonna take you back to October 30th, 2011. And I'll tell you what, one thing I learned about that date was it was the Devil's Day. And surely enough, that was the day that truly all hell broke loose in my life. And, uh, I would love to be able to share the dreams I had that basically led up to the day. And the one about the tidal wave and the whirlwinds that I shared in the last video, that was one. But it didn't give indication about basically what set up that day of, to October 30th, 2011. So anyway, I had two dreams that in those dreams that I took special notice to the clouds that were in the sky. And the first dream, and I won't go into detail about that dream, which is, in itself is an amazing dream, and it all ties into the message of what we're seeing and what's happening in the spiritual realm. But I'm just going to give reference to one aspect of it, that and another dream, okay? And then I'm going to be able to share the dream I was going to share yesterday, but didn't end up sharing it with you. Anyhow, those two dreams, one thing that I had taken notice that was in common of the two dreams that led up to October 30th, 2011, were the clouds, okay? And those two dreams, I guess I had taken notice to the clouds in the sky, so I knew that the clouds in those dreams were evil clouds. Okay, so October 30th, 2011, I go to work. Okay, and this is when things got extremely delirious and insane. But I had taken notice to the fact that those particular clouds were up in the sky uh, that morning, and I knew them from them dreams, so I knew that the cloud was evil. Okay, so anyway, I was in the back of the warehouse that I was working at the school district, talking to a fellow Christian friend, back there about the dreams that I was having and the clouds that were in the sky that morning. So anyway, and I shared with him those two dreams, and the first one was about a flying dragon, and I seen these clouds, and I seen hands of aliens come out of these clouds, and there was a kid that was demonically possessed, and I'm telling everybody, don't worry, this is just an illusion, and I hear liar, liar, and I go and I cast out the demon out of the kid and turn back around, and I notice that all these clouds, dissipate and pull back, and ultimately a flying dragon comes down and starts shooting fireballs down on the people, which is biblical. The Bible talks about that. That is in reference to wormwood, in reference to God's wrath. And then the other dream that kind of led up to this day was, I had a serious drinking problem at that time because I was, partying like a rock star, and, I had become an alcoholic because of it. And so anyway, I went down and I bought a bottle of Mad Dog 2020 from the local store there in the ghetto hood I lived in. And I went in, and the teller was behind the counter, and he had been gone for a number of weeks. And he's a pretty decent guy. I talked to him, and so I was like, "Where have you been?" And he looked at me, and he was like, "I've been in Bangladesh." He's like, "It's the home of the sleeping tiger." And I'm like, okay, and the way he said it to me, he said it as though I should know what he's talking about. And I'm like, okay, and I was like, okay, I know there had to have been something to that. So that night I went home, I slammed that bottle of Mad Dog 2020, and praise God, I'm not an alcoholic no more. I mean, I did have a couple drinks the other day, but that was the first time in months, since I've had anything. Normally, I don't even care. But anyhow, so anyway, I had that dream that night, and a dream that night. After I went to the store, after I drank that bottle of Mad Dog 2020, me and a coworker who is a good friend of mine that I work with at the school district, we come walking out of school, and we had to go deliver the mail throughout the school district. And but the thing was is that the for one, to begin with, the cloud was the same clouds that I saw in that first dream with the dragon and the aliens. So I knew in that dream that the clouds was evil. So as we was walking down the sidewalk, I was sitting there, "Please, Jesus, just be with us. Please, be Jesus, just be with us." And then all of a sudden I see, a clearing in the sky and one star shining through that. And so I'm like, "Oh, Lord, just be with us." Next thing I know, those clouds all just fly away, and all of a sudden, all these stars start shooting across the sky, and then you look at the horizon, and you could just see streamers of light. It was like a purple sky, like twilight, which that in itself, it bears a lot of witness to what's really going on around us. That's why I wish I could just give it all to you, so you could say, wait a minute, there's some substance to this. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, well, we got to go deliver the mail. So we go and we get in the truck, right? And then we're driving down 57th Avenue. And right behind Red Lobster on the south side of 57th Avenue, heading east, you have that pond that's right across the street from Fountain Lake. And so we look over to that pond and we see all these fish jumping out of the pond. I'm like, oh, cool, man. Let's go get some of these fish and we can cook them up on the grill later. So, we pull into the parking lot, and and as soon as we pull in the parking lot, all the fish jump back in the water. So we're like, okay, whatever. So we did a U-turn, we start coming out. Well, just as we start pulling out, this cat jumps into the back of our truck, and we was in like this Jeep thing, and he was in the back seat, and I knew that he was powerful, and I knew that he was strong, and I assure you, I am not pulling your leg. This is all the honest to God truth, okay? And this is just a setup from where I'm trying to get to. So anyway, he come, and I'm like, oh man, that thing is powerful, and I do not want to look at it. It was like one of those cats that you see in like Canada with all the fur and the whiskers, you know what I mean? And so, the cat comes into the center console, right? And then I'm sitting in the passenger seat like this, and then the cat goes and puts his paw on my arm and starts to dig his nails into my arm to show me how strong he was. And I was like, well, I'm not even going to test this cat. I'm going to look straight ahead, and I'm not going to even look at it. And after he did that, he jumped out the side window. And I kind of had to tell you a little bit about that to kind of set you up to what I was seeing October 30th, 2011. Anyway, let's go back and rewind to the place where I was talking to my buddy, about the clouds that was up in the sky. Now remember, I told you I seen those clouds in the dream with the dragon, and I seen the clouds with the dream of the cat. Okay, so remember that. Alright, so October 11th, I'm back there talking to my buddy, telling him about those dreams and about the clouds, and so needless to say, I braved it. I knew there was some crazy junk going on around me at that time. So I was like, I braved it, and my first stop was Palmetto High School, and I drove a big white truck, the big box trucks, and I had to drop off some trailer or some tables, so I pull up to the front office, and I go in there to ask them where they wanted me to drop off the tables. All right, I no more walk into Palmetto High School, which is what, the home of the Tigers. Now, ironically, strangely enough, I noticed this past Friday night, Southeast was playing Palmetto, and it got rained out, and they rescheduled it for Saturday, and it got rained out. So there, that thread is kind of holding firm and holding it all together because it reaffirms itself. These coincidences that seem to resurface and give credit to everything that seems as though it's fitting together, they're there, but anyhow, as soon as I walked in to Palmetto High School, I'll tell you what, this is no lie, I felt something evil. That's why I said, you don't see the tiger coming. It pounces on you. It spies on you and it watches you. When you got your back turned, it pounces on you. And that's exactly what happened to me. And evil overtook me like I had never known in all my days. I mean, I could not look at nobody. It was severely intense. So anyway, I was like, all right, where do y'all want me to bring these tables? They told me in the back of the school where the custodial office is. I'm like, all right. So I get in my truck, I pull around to the back of Palmetto High School and back up to the custodial office. I pull the air brake, and as soon as I pull the air brake, a cat comes on the radio. And this is no lie. This is the honest to God truth. Okay? A cat comes on the radio. It's like, you know how strong I am. He's like, you know how powerful I am. He's like, remember back when we was young and we planted the magic beanstalk, giving reference to the giant. Remember that, okay? And we talked about saving the world. And he's like, why don't you come and join us? And then he's like, ah ha 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 ha. And you could hear laughter. And you always know the evil one because it's the laughter. It's just like Michael Jackson's album, The Thriller. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. And all these horror flicks with Freddy Krueger, it's all the same evil laugh. So needless to say, I'm basically terrified at this point. But I'm praying, all right, Lord Jesus, I trust that you're with me. What else can I do? All my life I put my trust in him, and like a fool, I led myself to this place, and I'm like, all right, Lord, please be with me. So anyway, I unloaded all those tables, and I get back in my truck, and I leave there. My next stop is the administration building, which was downtown. And so I pull my truck in back there, pull my air brake, get out, talk to the building manager, which was a good friend of mine, and told him about the dreams, told him about what happened at Palmetto High School. And, then I went into the administration office, sat down, and I looked over at the dang calendar, and there was a picture of the same cat I had in that dream that jumped into center council, which basically said the same thing that the cat was insinuating to me inside the car, was that he was strong and powerful and how I did not want to mess with him. So that it just underlines, what I'm saying about the spiritual things that are, at work, that we don't necessarily see, but they hold a very significant, impact and influence on the environment down there. Okay, so anyway, so that and that, so now we're going to fast forward to when I'm up here in Maryland, and I sat there and I had a dream, okay? Alright, and this is kind of what I'm leading to set you up to kind of give you a little bit more of the picture of what I'm looking at, to share with you that I have had enough experiences and I've seen enough to know that there's some sort of, legitimacy to this fact, and that there's something that we should open our eyes to and be aware of, so that we're not caught off guard, like when our back is turned, you know. Okay, so anyway, I'm in a dream, okay, and I'm in Bradenton, all right. I'm sitting there, just let's just say south of Manatee Memorial Hospital, and I'm looking towards Palmetto, and there's a bunch of us there. And next thing you know, I see this line of tornadoes. It went all the way from the Gulf of Mexico all the way out east. And it was just a line, one right after another, of all whirlwinds or, water spouts or tornadoes or whatever they was, and it was coming right at us, and there was a group of us. And as they approached us, I went down and I grabbed a kid and held on to him so he wouldn't get sucked up in the thing. And whenever it passed over, there was like this little ditch ravine thing. And I told everybody, I was like, all right, let's get down in this ravine, and then the next line will just pass over us, right? Now this may all sound kooky, but, and I acknowledge that fact, but this is like the truth. All this stuff really happened, and if it happened to you, you would see the sequence of things, and just all the things I've seen, and you'd see that it, as crazy as it may sound, there's something to it, But anyway, like I said, so we went down in this little ravine. Next thing I know, I see this big foot step over top of me, okay? And then he reaches down, he grabs a hold of me, all right? He's holding me in his hand like this. He's a giant, remember? The giant, the magic beanstalk, the cat, the magic beanstalk. Okay, so the giant, and then he goes and takes a power line, and he pulls it off of a power pole, and he goes to shock me with it. And as that is taking place, this song, it says, I got chills, they're multiplying, and I'm losing control, because the power you're supplying is electrifying. This is playing in my head, and I wake up to it, right? And no more do I wake up to it. I get, a sit up, and I get on my computer, and I look on Facebook, and sure enough, a friend on my Facebook posts that song, and it's right there in my scroll, right after 2 minutes after I have that dream. And next thing I know, I see everybody posting this song, and then I turn around and I see they're making a TV show about it with the same song. So I'm like, okay, alright, something's happening here, so anyhow, so anyway, to take all that into consideration, the storm, now, when Israel rebelled against God, their enemies were the Philistines, and God caused their enemies to rise up against them, their opposition, and they came in as a force, and they toppled Israel, and Israel was destroyed. He said there would be not one rock standing on his temple. It was destroyed. So, and the same thing, because Israel was God's chosen people, and the Philistines were their neighbor. So, all right. So to take that, and to take the events that are going on outside of the weather, which the weather even in itself, keep your eyes open to, and definitely seek God in prayer to that he might open your eyes, and you can avoid, what is heading that way. But here's how I see it. They come down to the courthouse, and they protest this monument. And the chick from the Bradenton Herald with her little cameras right on top of that. Because just like the liberal media trying to invade, the medias to cause people to take sides and to pit one another against each other. So that's what I'm seeing. Is that the storm, the Bible says that the enemy came in like a flood, And even what happened last night, it just reinforces that fact of what is heading towards Bradenton. You know why? Because Israel became, immoral. They turned their back on God and His ways. They started worshiping false gods. They started calling what was good evil and what was evil good. They offered their children as sacrifices to these gods and offered their children to these gods, saying, "Children, these are your gods." Therefore, they killed their own children, because God is life, and His way is the road that leads to life. And those false gods are imposters who are the wolf who's trying to lead the sheep astray, to consume them and destroy them. That's the spiritual dynamic to all this. And I'm sure that a very low percent of individuals actually take any heed to anything that I'm sharing on this, but that's fine. The Lord put it on my heart. It doesn't matter who receives it and who rejects it. It's just a matter of putting it out there. And it stands true for all of us. It says, let the trumpets be sounded. Let them hear, that it's coming. There's a storm coming. And I'm going to try to link a video of Palmetto High School and their one video that underlines my point. It just is another one of those things that fits into that same narrative that gives credit to, what I'm seeing, and I'm probably not the only one who is seeing that is moving here. Okay, so we think of Palmetto. All right, so we've got this left intention. Okay, our enemies coming in seeking to divide us. By race, by religion, by sexual orientations, by any divisive language that they can throw out there and press the buttons of people's emotion to cause them to rise up and take a side. But here's where the storm comes. It comes from across the bridge. It's Palmetto. That's where the enemy is. Because the people of Bradenton, they're a good people. There's a lot of riffraff and a lot of drugs, which a lot of that was created because this was an already pre-chosen plan to bring destruction into this land. That's why they brought the drugs in. They knew what their intention is. This is a progressive movement that's been going on for decades. And it's as long as they're making headway, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep moving. So we can't expect that things are going to get better because Trump is in office. Trump doesn't even realize the forces that he's up against. Do I think he's a good man, a man of his word? Sure, I do think those things. But the arrogance of America, after 9/11, after God's warning, it was a wake-up call. It would say, take heed, you sleepers, wake up. The enemy is at your door. And he seeks to destroy you. Just like, God had told Job, or not Job, but Cain. He's outside your door and he seeks to own you. And that's basically what we're facing at this point. So anyhow, I'm going to share that video, and I hope that I gave you a little bit of food to chew on, to consider, and to maybe open your eyes to take notice to things. It takes a lot of time to be given to, really be able to recognize the fingerprints and, the movings of things, to identify it for, its origin, and to kind of comprehend where it all fits. So, I don't expect that you would, really see that. But to take heed to the fact, and be on guard, to definitely open your life up to God, and to know that the destroyer has come to kill, steal, and destroy. And how he does that is he's after the children. The enemy, the serpent, the dragon came after the seed of the woman, which was the church. He went after their children. First he had to go and destroy the marriage. So we went from movies and shows like Father Knows Best, and the Brady Bunch, and where the father had the role, and we moved into Married with Children, and it was Bart Simpson and the American Dad. And basically, what the intention was behind that, we think of the Matrix, we think of mind control, and we're definitely influenced by these things. And we conform our lives by these things because it's comedy. And that's what they utilize. If it's funny, oh, it wasn't really bad because it was funny. No, it was wrong. You know, because the message is wrong. So we went, and now no longer is the father the head of the home. He's the disrespected figure in the home. But yet he, by God, was given a position of authority over the home. And he's the one accountable to keeping the home in his order. Not that moms don't have value, they have a treasured value. It's their love that makes the home a home. you know so I mean, everybody has value, and it's not to demean or belittle or discredit anybody's value. We all got value. Every part of a mechanical engine, adds value to that engine. And that's, the unit of a family. Every member adds value to the family. So anyway, it's the same. So, uh, you know, uh, just keep your eyes open, and to me, that's what I'm seeing. They're creating a storm. They're creating an environment of division, and I don't see that the problem is going to come from within Bradenton. I really do think, just as in that dream, that those storms were coming from across the Manatee River there, from Palmetto. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you got any ideas, share them with me, because, these are times to be vigilant and keep your eyes open, and prepare yourself. And if you have influence and you're out there, drinking and partying and cutting it up and speaking foolishly, examine your heart, because God's judgment is coming at you. You might dress up like a clown because it makes people laugh and wear funny pants, but you're a leader. You set the steps, and where are you leading? Off the cliff? Re-examine your life and get it in order, and love your brother for their sake. Alright, God bless.